Wow, what an incredible episode. We just had Alexia Cooper, who's a trailblazer in the construction and renewable energy space. In 2020, she became Nevada's youngest female C2 electrical license holder and was recognized at a Forbes 30 under 30 for energy. She further honed her leadership skills by graduating from Oxford's Leadership Academy and has sold her company as well through an amazing journey. She was born and raised in Vegas. She's always dreamed big. And we're just so excited to bring her to you today so you can learn some of those amazing business lessons that she's going to be sharing with us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power Up Your Life podcast. I'm Mandy McAllister.
And I'm Kelly Resendez.
And we are so excited to have our girl, Alexia Cooper, with us today. Alexia came and spoke with us in Sedona a couple years ago. Had a chance to spend some time with her. That was so much fun. Alexia, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, it's an honor to be with you all.
Awesome. Well, why don't we get started from the top? Just tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
So I started in construction at a very young age. I went from air conditioning to electrical, ended up in solar. I bought my business from the founder and then ended up selling it in 2023. And now I'm just on this journey of what's next.
Oh, that's beautiful. I feel like, one thing at the Sedona event that I just loved so much about the acquisition that you talked about, the acquisition of that company, you gave a lot away to very early on. And you talked a little bit about like worthiness stuff. So if you don't mind, can you tell our listeners a little bit for especially somebody who has done such incredibly big things, talk to us a little bit about, things that you do to get back into your worth when you're not totally feeling it.
Yeah, so for me, a lot of that was my environment and who I surrounded myself with. So going to the GoBundance event, finding other mastermind groups, really finding those people who helped me see my worth and my light. Because like you said, like I immediately gave away, when I became 100% owner, I gave away 49% of it because I didn't think I was enough. I didn't think that I could do it by myself. I thought I needed the help, which ended up being a huge life lesson, and I'm grateful for it. But it really took time for me to recognize, like, I chose this because I didn't know I was worthy of it, and stepping into that power and like my team really pushing me, being like, Alexia, you're the leader. Like, we need you. And like recognizing that I was the one, it wasn't the brand. It wasn't the business. It wasn't, the executive sales group that was putting sales towards me. It was like really my vision and my mission. And that was just, it took time, really. It just took time and good people is, I would say, the best advice.
No, that's absolutely amazing because a lot of times, like women tend to not ask for the raises. They tend to give away more than what they do. And so what an incredible lesson that you've learned there. So thank you for sharing that. What would you say, like when it comes to when you're feeling stuck, because you've had a couple of those situations, right, where you weren't quite sure what to do. Like, how do you get yourself unstuck? We got a lot of people out there that are like, what should I do next? Where am I? Like, how do you move yourself through that?
So for me, I'm kind of an extremist. I like to go really far in the uncomfortable zone. So when I start to feel like stuck or content or whatever it might be, I do something crazy. So like it could be a trip, it could be skydiving, it could be going to a leadership course, it could be just something that pushes me to my limits. I found that when I do push myself to the like past the limits that I think I can actually do, that's when I'm starting to like I relight myself. And I remember, okay, this is why I want to do this. This is my purpose. And that really helps me stay grounded. If I don't like kind of lose my mind once in a while doing something like that, I get really, really stuck in my own head. So it's really about pushing the boundaries consistently day after day.
Yeah.
I love it. Like knowing when to shake things up. And I bet you have a running list of things that you plan to do to shake things up too. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and people like working for a company that decide they're going to buy the damn company, that is an unconventional idea. And entrepreneurs by definition tend to be a little bit counterculture. Tell us a little bit about some things that you know or believe that somebody else might disagree with.
I would say my biggest thing is always ask for forgiveness, not permission. So when I started at that company, a lot of it was, okay, I'm just going to take ownership. Like, I'm just going to act like the owner. I'm going to act like I'm doing these things and I'm going to jump in where I know it's needed. And I'm very grateful because the founder at the time was just allowing me to do that. He was allowing, I was a 22-year-old running an electrical company. Like, I didn't know anything. And for him to give me that opportunity and me just to run with it, that I think, like, honestly, I was kind of an intrapreneur versus an entrepreneur. And then I became an entrepreneur because it reassured me of my gift. That is probably one of the most unconventional things. And also, like, the whole women thing, like, I was in a room full of men all the time, as most of us always are, you know, like, we're in a room full of men. And I never focused on that. I always focused on, like, my value, what I can bring and how I can show up versus, like, oh, you know, like, what's it like being the only woman in the room? I hate that question because it always gets asked. And I'm like, why are we still asking this question? So, yeah, just focusing on things that aren't the conventional ceiling that society puts us on.
Yeah. Well, what would you say? Let's go a little deeper on the female leadership thing. Like, we know we have a problem. Like, we know we have a problem. Only 2% of venture capital is going to female founders. We're at, close to 10%, females at the C-suite level. Like, what do you think are some things that we could do different? In what you've built, like, how'd you get there? Like, how would you solve some of this issue?
Well, it goes back to what you were mentioning in the beginning is us putting ourselves out there, us being able to ask for the raise, ask for that position, and really having the courage to do it. I don't think that society allows that. And for us to continue to break those glass ceilings, which goes back to me pushing those boundaries, that's what I really believe it is. It's like that uncomfortableness. Like, we're not really trained to, like, boast about ourselves and think that we deserve it all. And we just go back to that nurturing and I can do this because I can, or I'm helpful and all of that. So I really think it's just about shaking it up and, like, understanding that the world needs us. Like, the way that we think and the way that we are really changes the perspective. Like, every business that I've been into, and I look at things and I share something and they're like, I've never thought about that. I'm like, yeah, just because we all think different. Like, there's so many levels that we can add different value to. And that's, I mean, it's just focusing on that, like, not the scary things, focusing on the good things.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
Focusing on the message, because all of these food dyes and things that are not allowed in Europe or other places that are in our food for our kids, that wouldn't have happened if there was a woman at the table, right? So it's on us to show up as leaders. And I get that question too. What's it like to be the only woman in the room in commercial real estate? And it's a chance to reframe, right? Like, as the only woman in the room, I look different, so I'm going to get listened to in a way that a guy equally as smart as me might not, right? So how do I use that to my advantage with that reframe? So, I'm curious about, you got to take care of yourself. You got to figure out, especially if you're trying to do all of the things as an entrepreneur, grow a great life, do all of the things that mean for an incredible existence, squeezing the juice out of life. You got to take care of yourself. I'm curious if you have some rituals or recipes or things that you do on a daily basis to help you find success. What are those things?
My morning routine is really everything. And I know everyone has a good morning routine, but if I don't go to the gym, if I don't hit the sauna, if I don't hit the cold plunge, like, my whole day feels off. And for me, it's like really doing the hardest things in the beginning of the day. When I wake up and I push those limits physically, I already am at that mental state where I can take whatever comes my way. That's my biggest thing. There's little things that go into it, journaling, meditation, all that good stuff as well. But I really focus on making sure I hit the physical limits early on.
No, that's incredible. And I think for anyone listening, it is actually counterintuitive, because a lot of people, the first thing they do is they check their email and we start responding to things that other people need. And that's been a big one that I've noticed, Alexia, is that, the willingness to ask for help too in the things that we need. Like, how important has that been to your journey in creating an incredible journey, company, and then selling it? Because a lot of people don't, they aspire to do something like that, but they don't. How important is it in asking for help?
Well, to be honest, the beginning days of my company, I never asked for help. And I just continued burying myself in the messes that, owning a business are. When I got to the breaking point when I was being sued by my business partners and my life was falling apart, all the good things, I was finally like, okay, this is the time I have to ask for help or I'm not going to get there. And that created a whole mind shift for me, asking for help from my mentors, my team, relying on them, just being like, I can't do this alone. I need everybody to help me step up. And it completely like 180'd my business. We became more successful than we've ever been. And even when I got the opportunity, so the company that wanted to acquire mine was after me for over a year. They kept asking me, hey, we want to buy Bell. We want to buy Bell. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And finally, when I was studying in Oxford for 6 weeks, I went to my cohort and I said, hey, I have this opportunity. I feel like I'm too emotionally involved to make this decision because it was my baby. It was my brand. It was everything I've built. And would you be willing to look at it and let me know what you think? And they dug into my financials, where the industry was. And they came to me and they were like, Alexia, you're stupid if you don't take this. So like even that moment that could have changed my entire life if I wouldn't have taken that offer. So, and me being willing to listen and to accept that help and to step out of the emotion and into the logic was really powerful. And I would have never gotten that. Like they did an entire case study of my business in Oxford. It was amazing.
Oh my goodness. That is
I feel like
incredible.
totally. The community piece, the getting around people who are going to be able to lovingly point out, well, that's not what you said you wanted, right? When you need it. So how do you get the right eyes on the things you're doing to help you level up? I think that is so incredibly important. And a big thing that's part of why Kelly and I are all in on GoBundance Women and what I get from that group too. Let's talk a little bit about clarity, because I feel like, when the world was falling apart for you, you just show up every day and try to put one foot in front of the other. And sometimes it's easy to, get all in on the identity crisis or whatever you're dealing with. When you lack clarity, are there some steps that you take to go find that clarity?
Yeah, one of the big ones is being by myself. So I tend to surround myself with a lot of people, family, friends, team members, just because I'm, sometimes I like to be an extrovert sometimes. And when I realize that there's a lot of noise going on, I'll remove myself from the equation where I'll go into nature somewhere and kind of just disappear and turn off my phone. That's when I really get, especially like water. Water helps me find a lot of clarity as well. I feel like nature has so much power and energy. And when I become like one with that and I kind of shut off my own noise, that's when the clear thoughts come. I also really focus on my gut. So like one of the biggest things I notice is when my life started to fall apart, I was ignoring my gut. I was ignoring the internal feelings that I knew were wrong, that I knew were bad mistakes, and reflecting on that and being able to connect to that and know that I need to keep in tune or else it's never going to work. That was a huge realization for me as well. So it really goes with clarity, right? Clarity, being in tune. There's so many ways to say it. It's just really knowing who I am and what I want.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's so important because I think a lot of times people think the opposite. I need to just do more things, ask for more. And when I think we all have it all inside of us and it's just allowing it to get uncovered. So I want to just ask you, let's just say, for example, you're going to rebuild a business and you're at the ground level, you don't even know what it is. Like, how would you start? Like, what would your thought process be if you want to just start a new business today with all the lessons that you've learned from what you've done? What are the biggest things that you would look at?
My first thing would be finding a purpose. So, what is a problem out there that we can fix? That would be my first most important goal.
Okay.
I think the best businesses are built on solving problems. Then,
Mhm.
second, I would get really clear on what is necessary for me to actually spend money on and what is just the fluff that's not necessary. So, like getting a clear budget. What does that look like? What is my 6 month run? Who do I need to hire first? Because I'm not a super good employee, as most of us entrepreneurs are. So, like, who can I help delegate to these things that I know I'm not going to be a good doer at sometimes? And then like really honing in on like how to be scruffy in the beginning, like not have to be so like all these I've been a part of some corporations lately and I'm just like, wow, you guys have so many rules and there's so many things. Like you have to really get back down to the nitty gritty of like, okay, we got to be adaptive and we need to know like how to flow and how to listen to customers. And I would reach out to my network as well. And I would talk to all the people that I love and be like, hey, this is my idea. What do you think? Like just getting different perspectives of it, because I've noticed that when I do find this idea that I'm really passionate about, there's things that I could be missing as well. So
Yeah.
it's really
Mhm.
those three things, like honing in on what problem I'm solving, creating a budget and a focus for where my
Yeah.
resources are going, and then lastly, like connecting with my network.
Yeah. One other question I just want to ask on that, because I think it's an important one and you've got perspective on it. So Mandy and I have multiple partnerships, right? And we also have like we really know what and why we do business together. If you were to rebuild a business and you're evaluating partnership versus not partnership, what would you really look at there? What's important to you?
That's, that's such a good question. Partnerships are hard. I think they're harder than marriages, in my opinion. Um, and I would look at like, is that person a good human? Like, so the company that I'm actually joining now, the one of the biggest reasons I joined that company is because the two partners have been partners for over 15 years and they've been best friends since they were 3. For me, if you can have a relationship with one human for that long,
Mhm.
shows how much character you have just working through the problems. So if I had to, if I was, my first choice is not partners. If I can do it
Okay.
myself, I would prefer that. If there are people in my network that I know that I could join with, that I know are good humans, that I've known for over a year, that I've worked with before, that I see how they are under stress, because that's a big thing when you get
Right.
faced with like being hit by the wall. How you respond is going to change when it's roses and daisies
Yeah.
every day, you know? So it's like really seeing all aspects of that human. It would take me a long time to get to know that person before I'm willing to jump into a business, unless I had like a really expensive lawyer that made a really expensive contract that I could get them out of if I needed. Those would
Yeah.
be my first thoughts.
Okay.
But yeah, partners are hard.
So
Oh,
important. And Mandy and I
100%.
know like it's just as important as like how are they going to act under stress is how's the other person going to support you, because we can't avoid it forever, right?
Right.
We can't avoid stress. We're all going to have a meltdown at some point, and some people can handle it and some people can't.
So true.
Absolutely. And then how will that partner deal with the meltdown that happens in front of them? It's so incredibly important. Something you just talked about too was the your gut, right? I think that this is the female entrepreneur thing that we have a leg up over our male counterparts. I'm curious about talking to someone who might not have a full sense of their gut, the ability to trust their own judgment and their intuition. What are some things that you have done along the years to learn to trust your own judgment?
I think a lot of it is putting myself out there and reflecting after. So when I feel whatever weird feeling, everybody feels it differently. It could be throughout your whole body. It could be in your stomach. Like for me, it's like really in my stomach where I'm like, okay, I feel this gut feeling. Something tells me something bad's happening or something tells me that I need to do this. And when I've noticed that when I do it or I ignore it and then I reflect back through journaling or meditation, whatever that is, I can really start to connect. Okay, well, I felt this weird feeling that I didn't understand. I did it anyway, and then it ended up being
Right.
a bad idea. So that's probably my biggest, is just reflection, because it's really hard to pinpoint that if you haven't lived it. So like really feeling, and I would say probably really good things to help with that would be meditation, sensory deprivation tanks, like things that really remove all noise so that you can get into the moment and feel yourself.
I don't know what a
Mm.
sensory deprivation tank is, but I feel like I need to go get one. Can you send me that info like right away? Is there one in Vegas? I'm just here for a couple days. Like, yeah. I mean, because a lot of times we're just stuck in our heads, right? We're really
Yeah.
stuck in our heads. And when we're stuck in our heads, we don't invite that deeper intuitive knowing to the table. So, one follow up question on that, like, how important do you think authenticity is in order to be successful in life and have
Yeah,
joy?
that's one of my core values is authenticity. I believe that when I show up as myself and I am this true, like vibrant, like enthusiastic human that some people are like, whoa, that's a lot. If I don't show up that, I'm lying to myself, which then takes me
Yeah.
out of being in tune,
Yeah.
takes me out of my gut. And when I do show up like that, the energy attracts energy. So like when
Oh my
I'm
God.
true, I attract true humans. And that's what I live for. Like
Yes.
I want to build amazing things with amazing people. And the only way to do that is to be myself.
Yeah. I love that. Well, you have dropped so many incredible bombs on us today. I think from, just where you would start if you rebuilt a business. A lot of our listeners might be on a W-2 thinking about doing it, like really just starting with that problem and then really being able to tap into, nature and your intuition and other things to be able to allow that clarity to come forward. Mandy?
Girl, I got notes. Here are the things that I loved from Alexia Cooper. The don't lie to yourself. I feel like so much of the pattern that I see in these conversations is it all starts at home. It all starts with you understanding you. You got to step into your powder. I love this idea of relighting yourself. So when I need to shake things up, what is something outside of my comfort zone that I can go do that helps me kind of start those wheels turning? Acting as if and shutting off the noise. I think that is so incredibly important. I heard someone say once that praying is telling God things and meditation is listening for the answer. I so firmly believe that. One thing that Kelly and I really believe and that we try to do at GoBundance Women is this idea of, helping, having the knowing your ask. So you do so much to give back to the world that we want to know what we can do to help you. What is an introduction or a resource that would change the ballgame for something that you're working on now, Alexia?
I think the best thing is honestly what I'm working on is getting into GoBundance because I believe that's my next ask is what's my next mastermind that's going to be able to elevate me to the next level. Just because I love masterminds and I love GoBundance and I've never been in a room full of women like that. So for
Yeah.
me, it changes everything when it's all women versus, a typical mastermind. So that's my thing. That's what I'm working on. That's my ask is, all those
We'll
things.
help
That's
with that.
done. Yeah, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. Well, you have been an absolutely incredible guest. How can everyone get a hold of you? Just if there's, follow you or whatever that might be, if they want to support you on your journey.
Yeah, the best way would be Instagram, so at Alexia Cooper, or LinkedIn, same thing, Alexia Cooper, and I'm happy to help. I'm a very helpful, transparent human. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Yeah. Or come see us at SolarCon happening this April. We've got a women's event that we're curating together, which is super exciting as well. So you can come check us out there too. Well, you've been an absolutely amazing rock star guest, as expected. And we're just so incredibly blessed. And I'm excited to see what happens next on your journey. It's a choice that you're making to be able to continue, I know, and just super excited about that. So thank you again. And thank you everyone for listening to the Power Up Your Life podcast. Go ahead and share this episode. If you found something really interesting, give us a comment, a share, a like, whatever it is that you want to do. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
See you next time.